Ed, you've been to these dinners 100 times. You know what they're like. There are about 15 or 2,000 people in a room, and everyone's sitting around talking, and all of a sudden, everyone starts screaming, under the table, under the table, under the table. Some people heard shots. I actually thought they were like someone dropped a tray or something, and people went running down the aisle. But everybody is literally under the table. Chris Ruddy, who was at our table, our CEO, is telling people to get down, get down. And it was just terrifying because, this is the one night a year, as you know, Ed, having been to these 1,000 times. I've added, first I said 100, now I said you've been to 1,000. But anyway, is that people are talking and laughing. I talked to Tulsi Gabbard, who was there right before, about 10 minutes before it happened. She's, of course, the Director of National Intelligence. Jeanine Pirro, the U.S. Attorney here, was there. Linda McMahon, Secretary of Education. Robert F. Kennedy, HHS. Senators. Reverend Franklin Graham was there. I mean, there were a lot of people whose names everybody knows that they were all there, and it's the one night a year where people in the media sort of talk to each other and enjoy the people we cover. There's a lot of anticipation going into this one. Of course, the president's not fond of the media. A lot of people in the media aren't fond of the president. So, there's some chatter about that. And of course, obviously, none of us expect this. But I will say, Ed, this was the weird part. There was almost no security. You come in and they say, tickets, tickets. You flash a ticket up. You could have gotten one printed last week identically, or you could have flashed up a piece of blank paper, and then you go through the metal detector. And, of course, there have been some people I've heard complain that they didn't check the bags much. Obviously, this person didn't get into the oh, no, don't go this they went the wrong direction. I'm sorry. But anyway, the traffic here and the security is just out of control. It's
Greta,
out of control.
Can I just say one quick thing, which is the White House pool, to your point about the security and the traffic. The White House pool follows the president everywhere. They'd be in a motorcade like the one we're seeing on our screen. The White House pool puts out notes, and and the bottom line is one of the reporters in that pool, and our team has just put it out, said, quote, "We are flying back to the White House, fastest motorcade I've ever seen," meaning they were trying to get this president back to the White House. Yeah.
They you know how the president and the vice president and remember the other people, remember the White House board are sitting up on the dais. It was like they just vacuumed it all of a sudden. They were gone. They wiped them right out of the room while the rest of us went under the table. They were gone in a split second, and I'm sure they got into the motorcade and they flew back to the White House so fast. I mean, when you look up, the dais was completely empty, totally. They evacuated so fast.
Yeah, Greta, Bianca here. What was the mood like? I mean, I know you know a lot of the journalists in the room too, and they were sort of leading up to it, depending on what type of outlet you worked for, what they thought tonight would or wouldn't be. But this was supposed to be President Trump's first White House Correspondents Dinner. He was going to have some fun. Caroline Leavitt, says, get some jabs in. After this happened, the seriousness of it obviously sets in for everyone. Can you just give us sort of the mood, the color with some of the folks, maybe not the biggest Trump fans there?
A lot of people jumped into their jobs and started reporting, making phone calls, and I guess doing phoners like I'm doing with you right now. They were doing that. A lot of people were rattled. Some people, people react to a crisis and terror differently. Some people are like, almost, acting quite normal. But there wasn't anyone there who wasn't disturbed. It's just how you manifest your disturbance and the terror of it.
Yes.
But to me, you don't go into a room, into a big social event, and expect that the next thing you know is they're going to evacuate the dais so fast that your head's spinning, like you can't even see them leave, and everybody else is under the table. I mean, I'm under the table. I'm sitting under the table with the British ambassador to the United States, who's brand new to new ambassador, and we had been talking about King Charles and Camilla arriving on Monday, and next thing I know is I'm under the table with him. My husband's across the table; he's under the table as well. Next to he was next to Carrie Lake. I hear Chris Ruddy tell Franklin Graham, "Get down, get down, get down," because Franklin was the last one down at our table. So I mean, it's pandemonium.